The next couple of days will be absolutely crucial for crypto. I'd say the most crucial event is happening in a couple of days, and that's the rate cut, or at least the expected rate cut, but the uncertainty lies more in how much exactly will they cut it. As at this point, it seems as if it's going to be 0.25, but the possibility of 0.5% in terms of an interest rate cut seems to get higher and higher by the day, especially with some of the most recent data that has just come out. If we're taking a look at right now, you can see it's starting to get quite interesting. Now, a little bit before those crucial numbers come out, though, we actually also have got ourselves the inflation numbers. This is happening in about 3 days from now, depending, of course, on your time zone. You gotta quickly check it out for yourself exactly what time these numbers will come out. The reason that this time around the inflation numbers are way more crucial than, I would say, 99% of the other times that it comes out is because, again, this is going to be pivotal for where we expect the interest rate to go. And as of this point, it's expected that 3 rate cuts are going to be coming this year, but depending on the inflation numbers, that might change. As of this point, if you're wondering, the previous number in terms of inflation is 2.7%, with the forecast being 2.8. If it deviates from that, expect some crazy volatility, with the situation actually being more funny in the sense that Trump has been saying over in every single interview that Powell is very late with everything, that he should have cut the rates a while ago, but Jerome refuses to do that. Now, based on recent data, President Trump's calls for rate cuts beginning 5 months ago were actually correct in hindsight. And it's even more evident that this is the case after over 300,000 jobs were revised out of 4 months of data. However, it's also clear that the Fed was correctly basing their decisions in early 2025 on the wrong data. Inflation was not at 2%, and the labor market appeared strong, but it clearly wasn't. Something is seriously wrong with the data. Now, I will say that that opinion has sparked a lot of counter opinions, with people saying, no, it's actually the tariffs, and there's a lot of discussions going into all this. All I will say about this situation is it's easy to play the blame game afterwards, but I'd say we just have to deal with the situation as it currently is. And I would state that it's quite odd the market is performing so well when in the background things are quite weird, and we've seen a record-breaking gain streak for gold, but also for the S&P. It's quite peculiar. Now, stock market versus the economy. Despite a very weak jobs report today, the S&P 500 just hit a new record high and is now up 35% since the April 2025 bottom. So why exactly did this happen? Well, because the stock market can and will continue to rise despite many Americans feeling like we're in a recession, or a recession is up and coming. The jobs report was weak enough to solidify rate cuts, but not weak enough to cause panic on Wall Street. And the market knows that rate cuts are coming into higher inflation, with, again, people basically buying into this event. Those who own assets will win as the macroeconomy enters a new era, which theoretically speaking should be a more bullish era, right? Right now, the weakness should be behind us, or at least the rate cuts are an incentive for better times. Those who don't own assets will be left behind as the wealth gap widens. The stock market knows this, which is why people are basically starting to price it in. Now, I'll counter this to some extent by stating the last couple of weeks, I have heard on way more podcasts than usual saying this is the year, or next year basically, to start selling assets, to start selling your house, etc., because they are overbought. I'll counter that again. I like to counter my counter sometimes by saying nobody knows exactly what's going to happen next week, next month, next year. That's why the movie The Big Short is such a massive success, because those guys were able to take some data that 99% of people skipped and realized that there's some crazy bubble going on. But when you really start breaking it down, to get to that point, theoretically speaking, you could have made way more money just thinking that it was going to continue forever and just being a perma bull and kind of, losing, I guess, on the way down and then picking it right back up. It almost never serves to be the person that says, no, this is where everything is going to crash. Because it tends to be that even if you're finding it logical that the market should be crashing, it continues on a massive rampage a little while before that, mostly because, well, what spirals a market out of control? It's people's excitement that it will continue on further, right? So if you're saying that the market will crash because people are too excited, When is exactly the too excited level reached? And I sense the same with crypto when it comes to the market right now. People are calling and saying, no, this is the top. And I want to quickly respond to every single person saying that by saying, people have declared crypto dead. People have declared a top so many times. But the fun thing is, it just keeps bouncing further and further upwards. It just keeps going. Every single time the market crashed like crazy, it was actually quite obvious in hindsight because the optimism was just too insane. Right now, people are saying, no, it's over. No, it's done for. But in reality, if you start looking around your freaking neighborhood, is your Uber driver, is your pizza delivery guy, is everybody talking about it? No. The president of the United States is talking about it a lot, sure. And I mean, if I'm looking at most recent announcements, there are a lot of new things coming out over the past few weeks that are extremely exciting, extremely bullish. But at the end of the day, I mean, even though the regulations are making it seem as if we're at peak of the peak, everything else is kind of making it seem as if we're nowhere. There's almost no excitement, and that's also because there's almost no movement in price. But I do believe you'll start to see that distinction quite soon, as long as Bitcoin makes a massive move for it. I mean, even right now, Michael Saylor just bought another 2,000 Bitcoin for $220 million. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody seems to care. Why? Because the market is not showing the results for it. The market is not pumping based off of it. Nothing is really happening based on all the news, which is why the last couple of days I've been showcasing a lot more of my trading strategies. I've been showing a lot more of my bots. Matter of fact, just today, I spent another couple $100,000 buying into new things. Well, at least I'm in the process of doing so. If I just scroll through, you'll see many of them might be at a loss. I opened them over the past hour or so. Just quickly pause if there's any bot you might be interested in trading. I've also put an update out over in Discord, and I've updated my entire sheet with every single coin I've just decided to buy. Part of it is just me selling altcoins around, and part of me is just thinking, you know what, I should have a bot for every single altcoin that I think people would like, especially because I asked a few times, which coins would you like me to trade or at least give an option for, and I've decided to add some of those to the list. If you also want to check out these bots, links are down below. I don't want to talk about it too much today, though. The main reason I bring it up is because in boring times like this, I think it's very beneficial to take advantage of all the volatility we've got, because at the end of the day, nothing's happening, but there's still some volatility. Might still be able to take advantage of it. Well, for the most part, just waiting it out until something happens. And if you're wondering what exactly is that something we are all waiting for, it's just a breakout. And the reason I'm saying A is because it could be on Bitcoin, it could be on ETH. We're just waiting for something to happen, because if you take a look at the volatility over the past couple of days, it's nothing. The last time Ethereum broke by a few $100s is like 2 weeks ago or something like that. The $4,900 mark was the 24th of August. And ever since then, it's been down, you might add. But realistically, we're down like 10% or so from that peak. We really haven't done much since the new all-time high was reached. And that's the thing. I think Ethereum will slowly but surely climb back upwards, potentially forcefully, though, with a massive move. But the moment it does, it's going to spark such a massive cascade that you, in my opinion, have to prepare in these boring times, especially around events that are so crucially watched, or I guess globally watched, inflation rate numbers, and the, of course, ridiculous Federal Reserve interest rate decisions coming out shortly. These are going to be two of the most important events of the year because they're pivotal, meaning that the interest rate now can change the entire course of everything, depending on, of course, what number comes out. Again, you've got your consensus, you've got your forecast, but hey, theoretically speaking, it could deviate from that. And of course, like I said before, if the inflation numbers come out and they throw up a crucial number, a crazy number, that might actually also affect the Federal Reserve new interest rate announcements or the little speech afterwards, which again, people will use for the next decision, which again, will be priced into the market right now. People are pricing in whatever they expect is going to be coming out in about a week from now with regards to the FOMC. If you're wondering what I'm doing to prepare for all of this, I've already said it 1,000 times, but I'll say it again. I am just getting myself bigger and badder positions. Badder in the sense that I'm talking like badass, like cooler, just stacking it up like a madman. I made a video earlier today saying I'm stacking up on XRP. That was at about 292, right now 297. And the funniest thing is, people will look at this tomorrow if the price comes down and say, oh, what a freaking idiot. I see it differently. I see it along the lines of, I'm just stacking these coins. It doesn't really matter what the price is too much, because I realize after all this is over and done with, the probability of being so much higher is so great that it is worth me just enduring some of the pain in the meantime, because at the end of the day, this is the most boring time we've seen in a very, very long amount of time, which is funny because the overarching trend has been extremely strong. strongest market ever for the S&P, strongest gain season ever for gold. Yet when it comes to crypto the last 2 weeks, potentially also these other assets, but mostly cryptos the last few weeks, nothing's going on, right? But again, soon that will change. Soon we'll go back to no sleep season, and we've seen signs of an altcoin season. I believe it's basically here. However, it's just the calm before the storm is the best way I can call it. But if you're asking me what's going to happen next, I personally think everybody, with regards to volatility, is waiting for these two massive key announcements. Inflation numbers and afterwards the interest rate numbers. You can also see the European interest rate data in, I think, like 3 days from now. I don't think it's going to be that crucial. Mostly everybody is watching for the US. And in terms of regulation, a lot is happening. I can make 10 videos just talking about that. In terms of individual coins, not that much is being announced, and neither do we want it to be. We want coins like XRP, Solana, which doesn't really do announcements too much, but even TRX and whatever coin you love the most. You want them to make announcements when the market's really hot, when coins do well, and they add announcements to it. This doing well can kind of like be accentuated, if that's the right word. It can go a little bit more exponential based on proper announcements at the right time. If they do it in a time where nothing's going on, sure, they're getting better headlines. Sure, they're getting themselves an even better spot, maybe more views. But theoretically speaking, most views will come when the coin is going up anyway. And so you want to probably push those announcements out when the market's hot for it, when people want to see it, rather than pushing it down their throats right now when they're not interested, which is why I again say that this time when the market's not doing anything, there's not that much news to go around. And mostly if people are sharing news, it's just because they want to share it, not because it's actually that useful, right? And the same goes for most of these projects. If they're sharing things right now, it's not really for price. It's mostly because maybe it's like an official announcement they had to make based on their agreement, or it's just some partnership they think is wise to announce to the public in the quiet times. But most of the banger announcements are being kept for in case the market goes crazy. I talked about this before when it came to actually quite a few different coins. Most of the coins, they leave everything for a very small period of time. They really push hard in that period of time. They really go crazy on the marketing when the market's ready for it. And right now, the calm before the storm, nothing's happening, but some massive things are going to be happening this week, so pay close attention. And guys, like I said, if you're interested in trading, I've got some links down below to whatever I use right now for my trading. It's all automated. It's all very, very simple. And of course, I've got links down below to my Discord as well. I'll be updating this every single time I do something with regards to trades. I've just shared links to every single one of the new bots that I opened. You can check out my settings sheet. You can check out my FAQ, or just have a nice little discussion with other people that are opening up bots. A lot of cool stuff in here. Check it out. Discord link is also down below. And that was it for my little update video. Crucial things happening this week. Pay close attention. You will not want to miss it. And if something else happens, I got you. I'll be back with another video. Make sure you press that like button, and that's about it.